We are following up with the reading of Deuteronomy 5 and 6 in English. We just finished now reading in French. Now let us read in English. Second speech of Moses is in chapter 4, verse 44 to and 11:32. But we are reading just chapter 5 and 6. So we have to introduce with this verse 45 of chapter 4. Introduction. This is the law which Moses set before the Israelites. These are the ordinances, statutes, and decrees which he proclaimed to them when they had come out of Egypt and were beyond the Jordan, in the ravine opposite Beth Peor, in the land of Sihon, king of the Amorites, who dwelt in Heshbon, and whom Moses and the Israelites defeated after coming out of Egypt. They occupied his land and the land of Og, king of Bashan, as well. The land of these two kings of the Amorites in the region east of Jordan, from Aroer on the edge of the Wadi Arnon to Mount Zion, that is Hermon, and all the Arabah east of the Jordan, as far as Arabah Sea, under the slopes of Pisgah. Let us introduce now chapter 5, verse 1 to 21. The 10 words outline what should be Israel's response to God for its liberation from slavery. The numbering of the commandments in the Catholic and Lutheran tradition is different from most other Christians and Jews. The latter have commandment 3 in verse 6 and 7, and 4 in verse 8 to 9, while coveting combines wife and property in verse 21. Let us begin the reading. Deuteronomy 5. The basic law of the covenant. Subtitle 1. Moses summoned all Israel and said to them, "Hear, O Israel, the statutes and decrees which I proclaim in your hearing this day, that you may learn them and take care to observe them. The Lord our God made a covenant with us at Horeb. Not with our fathers did he make this covenant, but with us, all of us who are alive here this day. The Lord spoke with you face to face on the mountain from the midst of the fire. Since you were afraid of the fire and will not go up the mountain, I stood between the Lord and you at that time to announce to you these words of the Lord. Second subtitle, the Decalogue. I, the Lord, am your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, that place of slavery. You shall not have other gods besides me. You shall not care idols for yourselves in the shape of anything in the sky above, or on the earth below, or in the waters beneath the earth. You shall not bow down before them or worship them. For I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, inflicting punishment for their fathers' weakness on the children of those who hate me, down to the third and fourth generation, but bestowing mercy down to the thousandth generation on the children of those who love me and kept my commandment. You shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain, for the Lord will not leave unpunished him who takes his name in vain. Take care to keep holy the Sabbath day as the Lord your God commanded you. 6 days you may labor and do all your work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord your God. No work may be done then, whether by you or your son or daughter, or your male or female slave, or your ox or ass, or any of your beasts, or the alien who lives with you. Your male and female slave should rest as you do. For remember that you too were once slaves in Egypt, and the Lord your God brought you out from there with his strong hand and outstretched arm. That is why the Lord your God has commanded you to observe the Sabbath day. Honor your father and your mother, as Lord your God has commanded you, that you may have a long life and prosperity in the land which the Lord your God is giving you. You shall not kill. You shall not commit adultery. You shall not steal. You shall not bear dishonest witness against your neighbor. You shall not covet your neighbor's wife. You shall not desire your neighbor's house or field, nor his male or female slave, nor his ox or ass, nor anything that belongs to him. Another subtitle: Moses as mediator. The words and nothing more the Lord spoke with a loud voice to our entire assembly on the mountain from the midst of the fire and the dense cloud. He wrote them upon 2 tables of stone and gave them to me. But when you heard the voice from the midst of the darkness, while the mountain was ablaze with fire, you came to me in the person of all your tribal heads and elders, and said, "The Lord our God has indeed let us see his glory and his majesty. We have heard his voice from the midst of the fire, and have found out today that a man can still live after God has spoken with him. But why should we die now? Surely this great fire will consume us. If we hear the voice of, if we hear the voice of the Lord our God anymore, we shall die. For what mortal has heard, as we have, the voice of living God speaking from the midst of fire, and survived? God closer you, and hear all that the Lord our God will say, and then tell us what the Lord our God tells you. We will listen and obey. The Lord heard your words as you were speaking to me, and said to me, come on, I have heard the words these people have spoken to you, which are all well said. Will that they might also be of such a mind to fear me and to keep all my commandments. Then they and their descendants will prosper forever. Go, tell them to return to their tents. Then you wait here near me, and I will give you all the commandments, the statutes, and decrees you must teach them, that they may observe them in the land which I'm giving them to possess. Come on. Be careful, therefore, to do as the Lord our God has commanded you, not turning aside to has commanded you, not turning aside to the right or to the left, but following exactly the way prescribed for you by the Lord your God, that you may live and prosper, and may have long life in the land which you are to occupy. So, let us read the introduction of this chapter 5, verse 22, 6, and 6, 9. It is said, The title was Moses as Mediator. It is said, Moses explores the meaning of God's law, especially as concentrated in the Ten Commandments. The impact of God's commandments is to be total and uncompromising, involving heart, soul, and strength, molding both individual and public behavior. The Lord is one and therefore has no doubleness of purpose, of intention. Such a God, and only such a God, is worthy of total obedience. So here we have, as they quoted Deuteronomy 6:9, at that introduction, it is said that write them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. Thank you. Now we read Deuteronomy 6. We will have an introduction saying that the title is Love of God at the Heart of the Covenant. Verse 1 says, These then are the commandments, the statutes, and decrees which the Lord your God has ordered that you be taught to observe in the land into which you are crossing for conquest. 2. So that you and your sons and your grandson may fear the Lord your God and keep throughout the days of your lives all his statutes and commandments which are enjoined on you, and thus have long life. 3. Hear then, Israel, and be careful to observe them, that you may grow and prosper the more, in keeping with the promise of the Lord, the God of your fathers, to give you a land flowing with milk and honey. Love of God. The great commandment from verse 4. It is quoted that Deuteronomy 6, verse 4 to 5, the greatest and the first commandment that you can read in Matthew 22, verse 37 FF, is given here in Deuteronomy. This is the bedrock of Deuteronomic theology, in which love is almost synonymous with obedience. The rest of the book spells out the implication of verse 5. Therefore, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your strength. Now, Deuteronomy 6, verse 6 to 9, introduction says, the prescriptions here stress the importance of the Great Commandment. Their text was used in the phylacteries, small leather containers containing tiny scrolls with verse 4 to 9. Also having the mezuzah, a small box with the text attached to the right door spot of the house, was widely practiced. Jesus makes it clear that what is required is an attitude of the heart of not just the material compliance with the literal interpretation of a text. You have Matthew 23, verse 3. So, let us read now Deuteronomy 6. Love of God at the heart of the covenant. These then are the commandments, the statutes, and decrees which the Lord your God has ordered that you be taught to observe in the land into which you are crossing for conquest, so that you and your son and your grandson may fear the Lord your God and keep throughout the days of your lives, all long lives. Hear then, Israel, and be careful to observe them, that you may grow and prosper the more in keeping with the promise of the Lord, the God of your fathers, to give you a land flowing with milk and honey. The great commandment. And we can see before I move how the Lord is still there. And we are moving. Now you can see He is present with His light grafting on the wall. My picture or my profile for the new journey, with accompanied with Mother Mary, and we have the light that covers us. Let us continue reading. The reading of Deuteronomy 6. The great commandment. Hear, O Israel, the Lord is our God, the Lord alone. Therefore you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your strength. Take to heart these words which I enjoin on you today. Drill them into your children. Speak of them at home and abroad, whether you are busy or at rest. Bind them at your wrist or your wrist as a sign, and let them be as a pendant on your front head. Write them on the door posts or your house and on your gates. Fidelity in prosperity. When the Lord your God brings you into the land which he swore to your fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. These three words, these two, Abraham, Isaac, are not so sure because Hebrew Bible says that there is no name Abraham in the Bible. So anyhow, we are not there yet. Okay, that he will give you. So we say that which he swore to your fathers that he will give you a land with fine, large cities that you did not build, with houses full of goods of all sorts that you did not garner, with cisterns that you did not dig, with vineyards and olive groves that you did not plant. And when therefore you eat your fill, take care not to forget the Lord, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, that place of slavery. The Lord your God shall you fear, him shall you serve, and by his name shall you swear. You shall not follow other gods. Such as those of surrounding nations, lest the wrath of the Lord your God flare up against you, and he destroy you from the face of the land. For the Lord your God, who is in your midst, is jealous God. You shall not put the Lord your God to the test as you did at Massa, but keep the commandments of the Lord your God and the ordinances and statutes he has enjoined on you. Do what is right and good in the sight of the Lord, that you may, according to his words, prosper, and may enter in and possess the good land which the Lord promised on oath to your father, thrusting all your enemies out of your way. Then we have Introduction to Children, subtitle. Later on, when your son asks you what these ordinances, statutes, and decrees means, which the Lord our God has enjoined on you, you shall say to your son, we were once slaves of Pharaoh in Egypt, but the Lord brought us out of Egypt with his strong hand and roofed before our eyes signs and wonders, great and deeds against Egypt and against Pharaoh and his whole house. He brought us from there to let us into the land he promised and out to our fathers and to give it to us. Therefore, the Lord commanded us to observe all these statutes in fear of the Lord our God, that we may also have as prosperous and happy a life as we have today. And our justice before the Lord our God is to consist in carefully observing all these commandments he has enjoined on us. We can see the introduction of these subtitles. Deuteronomy 6, verse 10 to 11, 32. It is said that the situation proposed in his sermon is that the land has been given as promised. The central theme is that God alone has given these good things. Deuteronomy 6, verse 16, 25, it is said that, do not test God. This sermon begins with a rhetorical question put into the mouth of a child. The answer to this question provides the application in the form of a confession of Israel's historical faith through righteousness, that is, existence in accord with a right relationship to God, is found in keeping this law. Then we have now understood these chapters 5, the basic law of the covenant, and the love of God at the heart of the covenant. And then we can say, next, we will open chapter 7, which is the situation envisioned in this sermon is the completion of the conquest. What is called for is the single-minded application of the band, the wholesale destruction of Cana, culture and religion, the injection to annihilate the whole of the Canaanite population in order to settle the Israelites is truly abhorrent nowadays. The motive advanced for such measure focus on Israel's special relationship with God, obedience, and leads to good health. So, we stop here in Deuteronomy 5 and 6. We don't move yet to the Deuteronomy 7. because we need to master these 10 commandments. And remember that the Lord alone, yes, He's the one. No other Lord. We shall love the Lord. Yes, God's love for His people and a desire for a mutual loving relationship is prominent. Hear, O Israel, opening words of the Shema, the prayer most frequently used. It is also a confession of faith. The Shema, this Shema, on verse chapter 6, verse 4, is quoted by Jesus as the greatest and the first of the commandment. Read Matthew 22, verse 37. Deuteronomy did not seek to reform external behavior only, but inner attitudes towards God and neighbors as well. It endeavored with great urgency to engage and change readers before it was too late, and that urgency is visible throughout the book. Yes, Deuteronomy confronts each reader personally and demands a personal response, best summarized by verse 4 to 9. We are talking about chapter 6, verse 4 to 9, and 10, verse 10. No, chapter 10, verse 12 to 13. So we have to stop here, yes, and continue our prayer. Thank you, Lord. We are blessed with all your teachings, and we keep your words, and we continue to obey whichever direction you will show us. You are the way, the best way. Brothers and sisters, as you can see, we have finished our lesson, and you see the wall. There is nothing there. We have finished, and we keep listening to his orders. Thank you, brothers. Have a nice day, and I'm waiting to see what God will bring to us again. Read. When you listen to my videos, go to the Bible or Quran or whatever, or Baha'i, where I'm taking some information. You to read. Learn to read. God bless you. And you can see